Alright, today's challenge, the electricity cabinet, I don't know. I had some fun crimping some wires yesterday. I'll show you that in more of the electrical portion of it, of a video, but this is going to be the cabinet for the electrical stuff, so let's have a look. Standard cabinet height is 34 1/4. That's what I decided to do. I didn't want to go too wide because we are going to go a little bit into the doorway here. So going too wide here, I felt like it was overwhelming coming in. So we're going to go just about the same width as the steps. So step is 8 1/4. So I just repeated 8 1/4 as far as the full cabinet width. We're going to actually do kind of an L cabinet. So we are going to follow this corner around to the wheel well and back square. So the wheel well, I'm leaving enough width, that's why I have this 2x4 to kind of measure enough width there for the framing for the back bench. Building it means that I needed 3 corner legs, another 3 to finish this L off, and a 7th leg that is longer, 7 1/4 or 7.5, the height of the step that is longer. Here, the reason I kind of went around and didn't just do one big square is we wanted to do like a shoe shelving on the side, like open shelving. So I don't want this like cross beam to go right across everywhere. I want it to be open. So we'll do that. All right, set up here in front of the parents' house as usual. I've got all my cuts done. Also didn't film that because that took a lot of time to figure out. It's the basic plan. Like I said, the whole cabinet is a bit of an L. I got my measurements in, and because I want to use as little wood or little weight as possible, I didn't want to do full half-inch like panels. I just want to put as thin of a panel as I can on the sides there, just for like that aesthetic look. But I don't need a panel for the structure. It's going to be lightweight, nothing impressive or too heavy duty. So framing it out, I tried to recycle as much wood as we already had, not to buy too much extra wood, so I do have some 1x2s and some 2x2s, so I had to keep that in mind. Those are my 7 legs, one being longer. I lined them up here once they were cut. I noticed that they're a hair off. Mostly this one's just a hair off, so I'm going to trim that to make sure it's all the same length, because that's going to be my gauge for the height of the cabinet. I've got my plates, they're all marked off so that I can figure out what goes where. The way that I measured these is I basically tried to figure out which legs would be on which corner. So let's say I knew I would have these 2 legs. I put them out, and then I grabbed my side piece here, lined it up that way, and then used my measuring tape from this end all the way to the end to wherever my measurement lined up, so that I knew I had the proper width. So that this sits inside of the framing. Let's see if anything actually lines up. I'm going to spend the next few minutes just putting a bunch of pocket holes on both ends of these, so 2 pocket holes on both ends, and hopefully I'll be able to just put it together. Alright, pocket holes. I grabbed a very cheap thing, basically on Amazon I think, Miles Craft. A lot of people have a fancy dandy thing inside, and then you just put the wood in, beep beep, holes. I don't have a shop, as you can see, and I don't have anything fancy. So, take your guide or rig or whatever you want to call it, and get that out. And you clamp it to the end. You can see that there's measurements on the side. Those measurements are for different width of woods. And I don't know, I measured this when we were doing the floors, and it was all the way to the end, so that's what I've been doing since. I don't know, maybe doing it wrong, but who knows. It's the bit that comes with it, because it's got that little pointy tip for the screw, and then the wider one for the head of the screw, and the guide to tell you how deep. Done deal. Take everything off and repeat 48 times. So, to anchor it into the ground, I added some pocket holes basically, obviously, in the down direction. This is the back piece, so I only put some holes at the beginning of it because there's going to have that L coming out. And then there's the front and the side piece. So basically I put pocket holes on the front, side, and this back piece. Now for the assembly part. This is just a piece of scrap wood. I wanted a flat surface. This plastic table isn't exactly the flattest surface. It just so happened to be exactly 24 inches, which is the width that I need. That's the front piece. I wanted to make sure that the pocket holes are going down because they're going into the floor. Pocket holes on the outside corner here. I'm going to make sure that this is nice and snug, nice and cornered, and go ahead with the screws. Again, I mentioned side pieces. Make sure that your anchoring holes are facing the right way. And I won't say this out loud because it's usually the type of thing that I screw up and put upside down without noticing and regret it and then have to redo it. So I've got both kind of my L sides in. This is the base, that being the top. You pretty much just have to cut everything twice to get the top shape done. This is what it looks like assembled. It's upside down because the pocket screws for the hole or the ground are there, but it's the exact same thing one way or another. I do have my last leg to install. That last leg is longer, so I will do it upside down, and then in theory, I'm all constructed. I mean, if that's not what you call success, then I don't know how I could have done it better. This is open space that I will eventually kind of put just small brackets, basically a shoe rack. You can probably see it better from the top that it's open all the way down. I will put a flat surface on at the end, so that's going to help keep that leg in place once that top section's in place. Bought a big piece of this, it's pretty much like 1/8 inch plywood. It's very thin. I'm not going to be putting much on it. It's basically the backing of the cabinet that's going to show, like when you walk into the van, you're going to see this part of it. So I want it to be nice enough to show. I basically placed my cabinet over top of it and traced it out, so it was very easy to cut out. Fits right to shape. Well, it took all day. It's getting dark, but there we go. So this is a sliding door, cabinet right on the side of it. Got well, now I've got screws to put into a top. Got the holes at the bottom to secure it to the floor once I'm ready to do so. I've got my wires coming from the wall, also from the ground. That one was easy, it was already kind of popping out from the ground. And on the side here, we have put a panel in the back. That panel continues all the way over so that I can attach my electronics to it. I have a panel on the side, obviously, and then the back. This is going to be the shoe rack, and I put the panels, I put a little gap in the panel. It just kind of wind up that way, but at the same time it's great because I'm going to have my batteries and all my electronics back there, so you really want good aeration in there. So that's basically just going to create some air out of the batteries. I might even put some holes on the side of this thing once I'm all done. But that's a cabinet. Alright, most of today's screw-ups I've been able to fix along the way, but this one I had to do pocket holes because I didn't think through the direction of my pocket holes on the back piece. It's just one end of it that needs the pocket holes. So the way I had the holes before, I basically would have had the holes against the wall and I can't reach them, so I needed to have the holes in the other direction. I basically went the same way, so you can see my original pocket holes in there. I just made new ones the other way around because I need obviously the holes to be on this side. The only piece that I redid because I wasn't happy with how it was is this one here. I had done the pocket screws on both sides, then I realized that these holes needed to be screwed in straight. And then I attempted to screw it in just kind of like that, without, I did do pilot holes, but I guess too thin. And I split the wood on one of them. The other one just seam split from the pocket holes. So anyway, I redid it. I didn't want to fully construct something knowing that one of the pieces would be loose. So I redid those side pieces, did a better pilot hole, hopefully. I'm just noticing this crack, but hopefully it improved the structure. And the errors continue. So I used the thin piece of wood to measure out measure out from the end here how far I needed the screws to be. The whole thing looked a little wonky, but I figured it was the wood. But it's because I didn't realize that it was the wider piece that I was looking for the leg here you're using. So I need to move my holes around over. But because I needed a flat surface, I remembered I have countersink bits. I have a whole kit for countersink bits. So I was smart enough to pre-drill countersink, so I should avoid any issues. I will do the same on the bottom, and hopefully that does it. Right, see, now I just called it perfection, and I put the last leg upside down because those are my floor pins. Well, I mean, close to perfect. Look at that corner. All I gotta do, I guess, is take that leg out, flip it over, and we got ourselves an electric cabinet. Error number 144. So I did switch the leg over, but that means that the L is going the wrong direction at that point. So really the error that it made isn't the leg, is that I put the pocket holes. I didn't keep in mind the direction of the L when I put them in. But it's all good because I'm going to use those same pocket holes to attach the top of the piece anyways. So I'm going to just add some into the bottom for the floor.